Hello modders, and welcome to this tutorial series on Drika's Hotspot, called DHS for short. Before we get into each of the functions and what they do, let's talk about why you might want to use DHS. Here's the deal. Overgrowth is a powerful and capable editor that allows anyone to just hop in and create a map. However, it has its limitations, and that's where DHS comes in. DHS expands on Overgrowth's functionality, giving you the power to do pretty much anything. You can animate objects, change character properties on the fly, create advanced dialogue and cutscenes, make your own UI, and much, much more. Get a little deeper, and you'll find you could pretty much create your own game modes inside the level editor. It's a powerful tool and definitely worth checking out, so let's get started. First, download DHS and make sure it's enabled in the mod list. So there is a Drika's Hotspot already in the game, but it's an older version and it's not the one you want. It's very limited. So until you have this enabled, you won't have it properly installed. Now we're going to create a new level. Go ahead, load it up, type in Drika, find Drika's Hotspot, double click on it, and press O to open up the custom editor. And we have some buttons here. So you have your exit button and your resize button, of course. And then we have add settings, import export, a red X, which is the delete line button, and the duplicate button. So let's start with settings. Enabled is basically enabling and disabling the hotspot. If you uncheck this, nothing on this hotspot will work. It will be like this hotspot is not there at all. Show name, this is an important one. So when you click show name, you could type in anything you want. So I'm going to type in example hotspot, if I could spell, and that is going to show wherever you are in the map. So if you have a whole bunch of hotspots, this really helps you keep organized. So I suggest you make a habit of naming all your hotspots as you're creating them. Make that a habit now. Then we have Debug Current line. And Debug Current line is going to visually show what line Drika's Hotspot is currently running in the game. So for example, if I just do go to line 0, that's going to tell Drika's Hotspot to repeatedly go to line 0. And since I have debug current line checked, if I exit out of here now, it's just going to repeatedly say go to line 0. And to further show that, I could say, for example, this might say go to line 1 and then go to line 0. So that's just going to, it's kind of redundant, but it's going to go back and forth. And now you can see it's just showing what line is currently running back and forth all the time. So we'll delete those for now. We'll uncheck that. Run in editor mode is a little bit different from enabled. Run in editor mode means that if you uncheck this, it won't do anything well in editor mode. So for example, if you have an animation that this thing is powering, or just stuff that might get in your way while you're trying to work on your map, you could uncheck this. It'll still work fine when you're actually playing the game, but when you're editing, it's not going to be getting in your way. For show UI grid and UI snap scale, we're not really going to get into those right now. Those we'll get into when we get into the user interface function, because until you reach that, they won't even seem to do anything. You check that, it doesn't do anything. So I'll uncheck that for now. And then we have configure palay. And basically, so in the add functions list, everything is color coded. Maybe you're having trouble seeing some of these colors. Maybe you don't like the way this is set up. So you could just click on this and change it to whoever you want. Now let's go into ImportExport. So we have export to file, import from file. Basically, this will take your hotspot and export it to a text file, or import a text file that someone else has exported or you've exported. And this is very useful, for example, if someone else were to be working on your hotspot, if you were collaborating or providing an example or having someone help you with something, this could be really, really helpful. And copy to clipboard, paste from clipboard. This means you could, for example, copy a couple lines to the clipboard, and you could like open up another hotspot, for example. So let's open up another one here and just paste them right in. So obviously very useful things. Then we have the delete option. pressing delete, the actual delete key on your keyboard, is going to delete the hotspot. You definitely don't want that. You want to press delete. That's going to delete it for you instead. And if you want to duplicate something you already have, you press that. And that's useful, for example, if you want to use multiple things within Drika's hotspot under the same function. So if I wanted, for example, to change the character's aggression and also to say change his attack damage and then something else, I can just hit duplicate and open that up, attack knockback, there we go, and I just pick one or the other. And of course, we have the add button. So there are a whole bunch of functions in Drika's hotspot, and add is where you access all that. Everything from controlling the AI to handling level messages or waiting a specific period of time, something like that. We won't be going too much into that right now because we'll be handling each function as we'll be tackling each function bit by bit, but this is how you access the functions. And if you're in a hurry, you could just do Control Enter and just find the function you want there. So dialogue, can't spell today. There, I want to change the actor's head direction. Ta-da. So that pretty much wraps up all the buttons. Now let's really quickly talk about how DHS works. So DHS reads your lines from top to bottom, unless told to otherwise. So if I want to, for example, change the character's aggression, and then I want to set the color of some cube, and, oh, I don't know, send something flying into the air. So it's going to do this, then this, then this. And the only time it does something different is if you tell it to. For example, if I say go to line. There are other ways to make it jump around, so I could say, so for example, if it reaches this line here, it's going to go back to line 0, and it's going to start all over again. Or I could choose, for example, go to line 2, and it's going to do this, and this, and this, and it's going to hit this, jump back up to this, jump down, jump back, jump down. It'll never do these two again, but it'll do this one again. So that's how it works. It goes from the top to the bottom. So we'll do an actual proper example of this, and we'll say we'll do a hello world. So I'm going to create a quick player here. Turner. We'll make him playable, and we're going to say on input. So that's waiting for key input. Enter. And that's actually just the skip dialog button, so I'll pick skip dialog, on input, skip dialog. So it's not going to go past this line until it receives the skip dialog input. Then we'll just wait a little bit. We'll say 3000, which is 3 seconds. That's 3000 milliseconds is 3 seconds. And we'll just display a text, and that text will say, hello world. If you're a coder, you'll recognize this as the first thing you do when learning any language, if you're following a tutorial. Let's hop into the game. The moment I press enter, waits 3 seconds, and says, hello world. So there we go. That is DHS in a nutshell. All the buttons and how to get started with it. I think that about wraps it up for now. Next, we'll start looking at each function one by one. See you in the next video.